Allie Hoffman, and I am a virtual partner marketing manager. Just to give a little bit of my background, my role within partner marketing is to consult IT solution providers nationwide on go-to-market strategies to help them generate net new leads and also to increase profitability. So I've helped many partners in the industry to spend their manufacturer and distributor funds effectively, and AFV works with hundreds of solution providers like yourself, enabling partners for 17 years. We work with companies like Cisco and Microsoft, providing marketing support from a program perspective. And within partner organizations, we also help to facilitate a more effective alignment among marketing and sales efforts. So if you aren't covered to receive assistance from someone like myself, but you would like to be, please reach out to me after the webinar and we can set up some time to discuss your options. So the goal of our webinar series is to enable partners to do better marketing and also follow some best practices having this expertise in the industry. We host webinars every quarter, so be on the lookout for our next webinar titled Getting Ahead of Your MDF Before It Expires. So in today's webinar, we will be discussing top 7 sales and marketing mistakes IT solution providers make. The purpose of this webinar isn't to make you feel bad about some of the mistakes made. We hope that through learning about the common mistakes, you can become more aware of your own strategy and work to improve aspects of your business. Now more than ever, your buyers are becoming more demanding. You may have noticed that you're not getting many reactions from your efforts. This requires you to become even more vigilant about your strategy. That's exactly why we decided to dive into some common mistakes as a solution provider. Our focus will be on overall business development and strategy, and throughout you'll hear common mistakes that involve marketing, sales, and both. So no matter what your job title is in your organization, you will likely be able to come away from this webinar feeling more aware of the common mistakes in the industry. We will dedicate some time to a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, so please be prepared with any questions you may have. So now on to our number 1 mistake. The number 1 mistake from an overall business strategy perspective for an IT solution provider is not having a competitive differentiator. There are thousands of solution providers in the U.S. alone. When there are this many of the same type of business, sometimes even within close proximity to one another, how are you going to show your prospects that you are the one that they should choose for all their IT needs? So I've asked this question many times to partners, and what I've noticed is that many may think they have a pretty unique value proposition, although from having experience in the industry and hearing the same answers over and over, I know that they seldom have a unique differentiator that sets them apart from the rest. And there could be a number of reasons why your strategy here is lacking. But one of the most common is that your business is being pulled in many different directions. There are probably a number of different clients from different industries under your belt, and you truly feel well equipped to serve them all. That may be the case. You may be able to help them all out in a way, but how many of these clients found you? And what stood out to them that made them reach out to you? That is what you should focus on and try to develop further. Look at internal data, and when a client closes off business with you, send them a survey to ask where they heard about you, and also what stood out to them and how you did overall as a solution provider. In the future, you can build out your case as to why you should be a trusted advisor and also potentially use these as testimonials on your site or in client meetings. A telltale sign that a partner has no unique differentiators is when they tell me that their business is off of referrals. A client heard they did a good job, so they decided to choose you as well. The problem with this strategy is that eventually the well runs dry. Suddenly you're realizing business is slow and not many people are coming to you for their needs. You want to be pulling more leads in organically. If you're having a hard time strategizing what makes you better from your competitors, think about your clients and from what industry the majority of them make up. First, ask yourself if you are truly well equipped to assist this industry, and if it's an industry that you feel comfortable strategizing around. Maybe you've come up with a solution mix with a unique pricing plan tailored toward that unique business and have X number of years experience working within that industry. If the industry that makes up the majority of your clients is not something you want to dive into, then ask yourself if there is a prominence of a certain industry in your area. If you live in or near a financial district and feel well equipped to catering to that industry and have experience with this type of business and the solutions revolving around it, then maybe you choose this as the primary community that you target in your strategy. And I wouldn't limit to to just this one strategy, to just this one industry, but just keep this as your primary focus. And all sorts of businesses could be reaching out to you in the future, but at least your marketing and messaging isn't being pulled in so many different directions. You're also not pulling the typical solution provider and coming to your audience with that message that you can do it all, because that's what every other partner is doing and will not stand out to your potential customers as something unique or help them to get the message across that you are their expert. Once you've established a unique differentiator, then what are you doing to get this message across? If you don't have anything broadcasting your message, chances are you're making this mistake. When someone visits your site, what are they taking away from it? Is your message consistent among all sales reps and marketing channels? Strategic messaging and positioning are often overlooked in this industry, and this is why this is our next mistake. The reason being is that it's very difficult to calculate your return on investment from the implementation of your messaging. So don't let this deter you from coming up with a plan for your messaging. And I do have a funny example. I once worked with a partner who didn't have a unique differentiator, so I asked him if he could ask some of his sales reps and their best customers what they thought was their differentiator. Then their leading client that quarter expressed that the reason they chose to do business with them was due to their consistency in message across all their channels, and even their sales was able to speak to that same message. So just because you may not see those monetary results from these efforts doesn't mean they're any less effective. Messaging is a key part of building any great company. And every business organization has a purpose and vision, which leads it to develop solutions to the pain points of specific types of customers. So communicating your vision and values to the right set of people is the process of winning a customer. So let's talk a little bit about your target market and why neglecting to build out buyer personas is another top mistake. So buyer personas are fictional generalized representations of your ideal customer, and they help to provide structure and insight to all those involved in your company. And having this insight can really help you to determine where to focus your time, how to develop your message, and allow for alignment across your entire organization. Okay, so you may have heard the definition of buyer persona, but are they really important as it relates to your business in the IT industry? And I think, of course, they are. So having this deep understanding of your buyer personas is critical to driving content creation, development of custom solutions, sales follow-up, and really anything that relates to your customers. Knowing who your ideal customer is can help you speak to their pain points and develop messaging that will more closely relate to them, with the ultimate goal to help prove that you are the expert in their industry. And so I did want to just reiterate the custom solutions part of this. If your ideal customer is in the financial industry and you can come up with a solution mix catered to this industry, then you're really giving yourself a huge opportunity to be that trusted advisor because you're knowledgeable about what works in the industry. And we've seen this so many times. Solution providers blast their lists with the same message and it really just comes off spammy, and this results in your list going cold. So instead of blasting your list with that same message, try creating buyer personas and using them to come up with a personalized approach to each segment. And the good news is they really aren't that difficult to create. So here's an example of a buyer persona and some of the sample questions to ask as you're in the interviewing phase of creating one. So if you wanted to take this a step further, you can combine your personas with life cycle stages, and this will allow you to map out and create highly targeted content that is tailored to exactly where your prospect is in this sales cycle. Lastly, you could even take this approach pro if you build out negative buyer personas, which is a representation of who you don't want as a customer. And then you'll have the ability to segment out the bad seeds, which can help you to achieve a lower cost per lead. And I've had partners ask me, is there any data that you found that shows this strategy works? And this definitely leads us to our next top mistake in the industry. So the focus shouldn't be on obtaining data outside of your business, and instead focus on managing your internal data and getting insights from what is truly relevant. So this is the information that you're going to base your buyer personas off of, and furthermore develop your business messaging to your ideal customer. So as the world is becoming more and more digital every day, it is increasingly difficult to see how your audience is reacting. You don't have the ability to see your visitors' body language or hear their responses. And many partners seem to be stuck in the same old habits of marketing and relying on a good old outbound methodology of a phone call, which is becoming more and more scarce as people search for their answers online. That's where things like conversion rates, click-through rates, and page views come in handy. These are your points of communication. By not effectively using data from your points of digital communication, you're missing out on the opportunity to effectively have a back and forth and give your visitors the information they want and need to make it to the next stage of your buyer journey. You wouldn't bring a potential client into a meeting in person and then leave them blind with unanswered questions. So why do that online when more and more of your customers are getting their answers online before meeting with you? Nowadays, 70% of the buyer cycle is complete by the time your salesperson gets to communicating with them. Buyers are using more and more discretion on what they're clicking on, and if you're not using data to communicate to these visitors, you're really just losing out on potential customers who will search for their answers elsewhere. Your data should tell a story and give you the insight you need to improve the quality of your leads. Through the use of different tools, you might have the ability to track how a visitor came across your site, how long they stayed, and what type of content or keywords had kept them there. With all of these different types of information, it can be overwhelming and time-consuming if you're not sure what to look at, or which pieces of the puzzle will help you to improve to communicate with your visitors. That's why it's important to think about what pieces of data are part of your efforts to get your message across. Are you driving your leads to a landing page? How much time are they spending there? And are they filling out the form? These are all things you can take a look at to enhance your campaign. If you aren't familiar with data analyzation optimization, I wanted to touch on where to start. One of the most important pieces is bounce rate. If there are a large number of visitors navigating away only after viewing a page once, then you definitely know there's something wrong. This is a telltale sign that you're not facilitating the conversation. If you see this is a problem within your emails or website, go back and optimize with better calls to action or more engaging content like video that will spark a deeper conversation with your visitors. Identify the pages that have decent traffic and conversion rates or results, and take a look into what content is resonating. Once you've found what's resonating, optimize by working to create more content that is like that. If you need help creating content, our in-house agency, IMS 360 Group, can help you out. They specialize in the IT industry and also work with manufacturers like Cisco, so you know that you're getting a quality piece of content. And also the price is right. Another great place to start with analyzing your data is behavior flow. So by analyzing behavior flow, you can view visual diagrams that will help you to decipher your web visitors' intent by analyzing things such as the pages they interacted with and ultimately where they disengaged and dropped off your site. So now that you know some key places to start, you're probably wondering where you can find this type of data. And the good news is that Google Analytics offers these metrics and more, and this is a great place to start if you're new to managing your internal data. A hot topic that's trending right now in this data-driven world is artificial intelligence. AI is definitely taking the world by storm, and specifically in the industry. Through relevant data, you can start implementing things like chatbots that help to support your visitors round the clock 24/7. Some are more advanced than others, working to troubleshoot and fix whole organizations, while others can be more surface level, like answering questions about hours, location, etc. And there are even some solution providers that offer chatbot services to their customers, which can range anywhere from design and implementation of a chatbot to also managing and optimization. So we've talked about using data to develop a buyer persona, optimize your approach in a digital campaign, creation of an AI solution, or just using the data for optimization of your website. All of these are different types of tactics you can use to reel in more leads. So our next top mistake, and arguably the most common mistake that I've seen within a solution provider's marketing, is the lack of focus when piecing together tactics. Many solution providers know they should be marketing and want to be doing marketing, but they don't have any unique focus such as an offer or value proposition. As a result, there's really not much thought or care for the marketing, and the message becomes unclear and your efforts are inconsistent. You're then just marketing because you have to, and there's no long-term approach. Just like when you do a chore just because you have to get it done. Only performing one-off campaigns when extra time allows it is not really an ideal way to tackle your marketing efforts. And we see this a lot within the industry, and it seems that this is a very last-minute approach to marketing. For example, just throwing together a campaign because an event is coming up. Afterwards, there's no real approach to nurturing your attendees or even those who didn't show up to your event. And unfortunately, there's no one-and-done marketing tactic that can generate leads. There's no magic formula to success with marketing, and what may have worked for one partner could definitely fail for another. So staying focused with your goal in mind will help you to keep your efforts aligned and not all over the place. Whether you want to drive folks to your assessment or you're looking to provide dark web reports to your prospects, it's important to establish something to work towards. Focusing on certain goals can also help you to keep consistent throughout the year, and also keeping you from trying the last-minute one-and-done campaign. If you're struggling to figure out what the main focuses of your campaign should be, try doing an audit on your current content library to identify some opportunities. Taking a look at your library can also help you to identify the gaps in your library and help you to determine where you should be creating new content to fill in those gaps. One way specifically AFV can help to show you where you strive digitally and where you need improvement is through our digital assessment. So we'll be able to tell you how you stack up with lead generation assets on your site, content, and how you apply those assets to your site. And then lastly, how you're even performing in execution. Here are the 4 components of the digital assessment and that our experts take a look at when you provide the report. And the great thing is that you would get this all for free. And you can reach out to me after this webinar if you would like to get set up with this assessment. In keeping focused in your campaigns, you might also find that you're getting some positive feedback from the results of your campaigns, but you just might not be sure who to follow up to. And this is definitely another top mistake, as your sales and marketing should establish a lead follow-up plan before even executing the campaign. Many times in this industry, I've run into a partner who completed a campaign and then afterwards the leads do not get followed up with. Or maybe they get followed up with once or twice, and both sales and marketing will have short attention spans and move on to something else. Your nurture streams need to be longer. These are big solutions that come with big price tags that completely alter the way a company operates, potentially requiring them to restructure some of their current processes. Just because the lead didn't close in 30 to 60 days does not mean they have completely gone cold. Ignoring the fact that the buying cycle for these solutions can be even up to a year long is a huge mistake, because then you're bringing the awareness to them that they need this solution, but then you're letting a competitor swoop them away when the time is right. Make sure you're building out a plan to continue marketing to your warm leads or re-engaging with prospects strategically so that you're not missing out on any of these longer buying cycle opportunities. Sales and marketing alignment is crucial to the success of your campaigns. Think of it like this. If a lead reaches out to you about a free assessment you're promoting and your sales has no idea about this campaign, this will cause a lot of confusion and ultimately turn your prospects off. You also want to avoid chasing leads that are definitely not interested. Make sure you're discussing with sales the qualification process and what makes a lead a strong opportunity for your sales. And one way to qualify your leads and ensure your sales team will not waste time on low-quality leads is to place in a lead scoring system. By scoring your leads, you will be able to better evaluate the behavior of your best customers and focus on identifying not only warm and hot leads, but those who take an interest into your brand and message and can help spread awareness of your organization. Of course, there's a lot that goes into lead scoring, so having a platform with the ability to set lead scores and also a person to quarterback this effort will be necessary. Many marketers believe lead generation is the #1 objective within their role, but your sales team would argue that quality is the most important metric to be measured for an organization as a whole. So make sure your sales and marketing are having this back and forth, and quality over quantity is definitely the underlying theme to keep in mind as you're generating leads. So we've covered a lot, and hopefully one of the key takeaways through learning about these top mistakes is that there's always room for improvement. Whether you've checked off on your list that you're making many of these mistakes or you've only highlighted small points, it's really important to take a step back and reflect on what you're doing well and what needs improvement. And there's one last top mistake, the seventh mistake, that is really just all-encompassing and relevant to every single topic covered in this webinar. It's a part of how you come up with a unique differentiator. It's a part of how you come up with a unique differentiator, how you broadcast your differentiator, how you choose who to target in your messaging, and how you decide which data is relevant to your business. And also how you decide what your primary goals are, and what you need to do to reach these goals. And then lastly, how you determine which leads need to be followed up with. The last mistake is definitely a lack of solid strategy to ultimately grow your business and increase revenue. And how partners strategize their business plan and go to market is integral to the success of your business. And at AFV, we see partners every day who may be struggling to come up with the business plan, and that's why companies like Cisco and Microsoft hire us to provide their partners with help so that we can enable them to do more business. And not only do we provide marketing support from a program perspective, but we also have many different marketing and sales specialists that we can provide your organization. And Affluent Vision's Marketing as a Service is a flexible, cost-effective solution that helps you to connect with new prospects and stay top of mind with existing customers. Our dedicated marketing managers become an integrated part of your team, bringing industry expertise and a suite of tools, application, and best practices. If you're not looking to outsource your marketing but could use some more advice, we offer a free digital marketing assessment that can help you to identify the gaps in your current strategy. Also, be sure to subscribe to our mailing list and check out our website for blogs, ebooks, and more. And don't forget to keep an eye out for our next webinar, which is titled Getting Ahead of Your MDF Before It Expires. Also, we do have a variety of services available to help bridge any gaps. So if you're interested in learning more, just reach out to me after the webinar and I can gladly get you connected with one of our team of marketing experts. So now we will open up to questions for those who have any. Please utilize the Q&A section of the WebEx to submit your questions.
All right, so we got the first question coming in. So this is all great information, but where do I start?
That's a great question. So I think practically the first place to start would be figuring out who your ideal customer is. And I think knowing that who your customer is definitely the first place to start, because this is your end point and ultimately where your goal is and where you want to end up. So once you find out who your customer is, then you can backwards engineer and figure out exactly how you're going to get there.
Couldn't agree more too. I think that's, if you have a better understanding of your customer, it helps fuel your messaging. It helps kind of fuel all of your campaigns and your strategy overall, and it's just a great place to start, because if you start anywhere else, you're really kind of shooting in the dark until you kind of get to that place and you have that information. And as marketers, it's always kind of hard because we're disconnected from our customers a little bit. So that's, I think, going back to your point earlier, Allie, of the importance of sales and marketing alignment. Sit down with your sales team, join their, their monthly, their weekly meetings. What are their pain points? What questions are they always having to answer for their customers? Open it up and let them kind of almost complain about their customers. What are you sick of hearing? What are you sick of doing for your customers? Those are always really great insights to be able to use in our content, in our outbound messaging, just our overall marketing strategy. I see another, just a quick housekeeping question. Is this webinar being recorded? If so, can I get a copy of the presentation? Yes, the webinar has been recorded, and we will certainly send out an email to everyone who registered just to make sure that you do have a copy. You can share it internally, with your team or go back and view it at a later time. So another question coming in, how do I qualify a lead without a lead scoring system?
Another pretty solid question. So I would definitely recommend implementing a lead scoring system. Although, this is a pretty hard task and something that requires a lot of bandwidth. So if you don't have the resources to implement one, since it is a fairly new concept and that's been made available with new technologies, then try scoring your leads the old-fashioned way by qualifying them as a BANT lead, which stands for budget, authority, need, and timing.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Allie. I mean, lead scoring is great from a marketing perspective, but at the end of the day, it is a relatively new technology, only made available through some of the marketing automation platforms that are out there. I think for any sophisticated marketing strategy, we definitely recommend having, one of those systems. HubSpot is kind of one of the best known, but there are a lot of competitors out there that offer a lot of the same features for, a lot less cost. But again, if you don't have, the budget to kind of put those systems in place, you can always go back to, the old school sales method of qualifying leads, whether it be BANT or name or any of the above. All right, so another question is, I know that content is important, but I have limited budget and I'm a small team. What are my options?
So I would definitely say to, start strategizing with your team, take some of these tactics heard within this webinar and start applying them. Also, there are some great free tools on the web. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Canva. It's relatively easy to use. It's free. It's something that you can use to create some content if you're, really limited on budget. I would definitely suggest going there.
I think going back to the first question too, start with the sales team. We're actually currently working with a client who wanted to roll out a blog, and they just weren't really sure how to start, and we recommended to them that some of your greatest resources from a thought leadership standpoint are your engineers and your sales team. So we're actually helping them put in place this whole strategy around incentivizing their employees, and they're held accountable to producing a blog on a regular cadence. So whether that be once a month or once a quarter. But again, kind of, just getting them to sit down in one room and kind of, have a session where they can kind of, vent their, their feelings about the questions that they're constantly fielding, or, the ways that they can help customers or things that might be seasonal. And the incentive program that they put in, or the client put in place was really interesting because it allowed them, to accrue points, and then those points could be cashed in for, a lot of really cool things, kind of gift cards and prizes. But then they also, kind of took the initiative to offer also time off. So that's a really great way to incentivize employees because, I mean, they're really the ones who are customer facing. They're the ones who kind of, they have their ears to the ground, so they know what your customer is talking about. And again, it really all comes back to, is what you have to say relevant to your customer? So that's always kind of the best place to start. So we got another question. If I wanted to host my own webinar for clients, how can I do that? So I guess we can just shed a little bit of light into our webinar process. So I think from an event standpoint, you know, it's kind of the same whether they're in person or digital. So there's kind of three main components. It's the pre-strategy, so you know, how do we promote the event? How do we drive attendance to the event? It's the strategy during the event, so you know, what are the steps that you're going to take chronologically? What are the goals that you want to accomplish during that event? And then finally, you want to have a post-event strategy. So how do you follow up on leads? What is the conversation that you have? What emails go out in place, and what messaging are you communicating? So I think having all those strategies, having the ample amount of time. We start promoting our events about a month out. Send about 3 to 4 communications, reminders. So you can obviously kind of refer back to some of the communications you received, and coming to this webinar today as an example. We also have an event solution too as one of our offerings. So if you're interested in hosting a virtual event, if you're interested in putting together an in-person event, you need a little bit help from a promotion strategy and overall marketing efforts, you can certainly reach out to us and we'd be more than happy to help out with that. All right, so I think that's all the questions that we've gotten at this point. If anyone has any further questions that they just weren't able to ask at this point, please feel free to reach out to us at any point in time. We're best reached at info@afluentvision.com. We'll also be sending out, as I stated earlier, a recording of this webinar, so you can always kind of refer back to it, check in on these questions. And again, if you want to take any questions any further, feel free to reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to help. So thank you everyone for your time. It was great getting to chat, share our experience with you, and we'll see you in about a month for our next webinar. Have a great day.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.